What if the real reason you feel stuck isn't because you're lazy? What if it's because your mind has learned how to protect you a little too well? Think about it. You wake up with intentions. You tell yourself today will be different. You plan, you imagine, you even feel that small spark of motivation. But then something happens. You hesitate, you overthink, you delay, and suddenly hours are gone, and you're left with that same quiet frustration you felt 100 times before. It's not that you don't want to change. It's not that you don't care. It's that somewhere deep inside, you've trained yourself to avoid discomfort at all costs. And that's the part no one tells you. Your brain isn't designed to make you successful. It's designed to keep you safe. Safe from failure, safe from embarrassment, safe from judgment, safe from uncertainty. So every time you try to step forward, it pulls you back. Not because you're weak, but because it thinks you're in danger. That's why you start something and then stop. That's why you scroll instead of working. That's why you wait for the perfect moment that never comes. Because action feels risky and comfort feels familiar. And your brain will choose familiar over growth every single time. But here's where it gets deeper. You don't just avoid action, you distract yourself from your own potential. You fill your time with noise, endless content, short-term dopamine, temporary escapes. Not because you're addicted, but because silence forces you to face something uncomfortable. The truth. The truth that you know you're capable of more. The truth that you've been holding back. The truth that your current life doesn't match the vision in your head. And that gap between who you are and who you know you could be, that's what creates the pressure you feel every day. It's not laziness, it's internal conflict. One part of you wants growth, another part of you wants safety, and you're stuck in the middle. That's why you feel inconsistent. One day you're motivated, the next day you can't even start. One moment you're focused, the next moment you're lost in distractions. It feels like you're fighting yourself, because you are. And the more you ignore this, the worse it gets. Because every time you break a promise to yourself, your confidence drops. Every time you say, "I'll do it later," and don't, you slowly stop trusting yourself. And once that trust is gone, even the smallest tasks start to feel heavy. That's why it feels harder now than it used to. Not because the work is harder, but because your mind is tired of your own excuses. And deep down, you're tired too. Tired of starting over. Tired of feeling behind. Tired of knowing what to do, but not doing it. And the worst part? You watch other people move forward while you feel like you're standing still. You tell yourself they're different, more disciplined, more talented, more lucky. But that's not the truth. The truth is, they feel the same resistance you feel. They have the same fears, the same doubts, the same voice in their head telling them to quit. The only difference is, they don't listen to it the same way you do. And that realization, it changes everything. Because if the voice in your head isn't the problem, then what is? It's the way you respond to it. You've been treating every thought like a command, every doubt like a warning, every uncomfortable feeling like a stop sign. But those thoughts aren't orders, they're just signals, and most of them are outdated. They were built from past failures, old fears, moments where things didn't go your way. Your mind collected those experiences and created a system designed to protect you from feeling that pain again. But here's the truth you've been avoiding. That system is now holding you back more than it's helping you. Because growth doesn't happen in comfort. Confidence doesn't come before action. Clarity doesn't come from thinking. It comes from doing. And that's the shift you need to understand. You don't need more motivation. You need a new relationship with discomfort. Right now, discomfort feels like something to avoid. But what if it's actually the sign you're moving in the right direction? That anxiety you feel before starting,
That resistance when you sit down to work, that urge to quit after a few minutes, that's not failure. That's the moment where most people stop. And if you keep stopping there, you stay exactly where you are. But if you push through that exact moment, even just a little, you start breaking the pattern. And at first, it won't feel powerful. It will feel small, almost meaningless. Sitting down for 10 minutes instead of scrolling, starting even when you don't feel ready, finishing something even when it's not perfect. But those small actions, they rebuild something you've been missing, self-trust. Because every time you do what you said you would do, even when you don't feel like it, you prove to yourself that you're not controlled by your emotions. And that's where real confidence begins. Not in big wins, but in small kept promises. And slowly, something starts to change. The voice in your head doesn't disappear, but it gets quieter. The resistance doesn't vanish, but it gets weaker, because you're no longer reacting to it the same way. You stop negotiating with yourself. You stop waiting to feel ready. You stop needing everything to be perfect, and instead, you move, even when it's messy, even when it's uncomfortable, even when it's slow. And that's the moment everything shifts. Because now, you're not relying on motivation, you're building discipline. And discipline doesn't care how you feel. It doesn't wait for the right mood. It doesn't disappear when things get hard. It shows up because you trained it to. And once you reach that point, you realize something powerful. You were never stuck. You were just stuck in a pattern of hesitation, a pattern of avoidance, a pattern of choosing comfort over growth. And patterns can be broken, but only if you decide to break them. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, not when everything is perfect. Now. Because the longer you wait, the stronger that pattern becomes, and the harder it is to escape it. So the question isn't whether you can change. You already know you can. The real question is, are you finally ready to stop listening to the version of you that wants to stay comfortable and start becoming the version of you that actually moves forward? Because that version is already inside you. It's just waiting for you to act.